Our next element in the beat is in the area of our actions. As we look at our actions, we usually think about the things we say and do. This seems obvious enough. However, another idea that goes along with actions most people tend to overlook is our urges. These are the things we want to say or do in any given situation. Sometimes, holding back our behaviors is a really positive thing and can keep us from hurting or embarrassing ourselves and others. Other times, our urges are echoes of the actions we wanted to complete when we experienced our trauma and weren't able to do, either because we were physically restrained or terrorized to the point of feeling frozen. Much like how our bodies continue to hold traumatic experiences, these unfinished actions and urges get locked up and are looking for ways to be released. These unfinished actions are called action tendencies. They are important in two primary ways. The first is that as we increase our awareness of urges or action tendencies in situations, we can learn more about how our trauma continues to impact us. This can help normalize some of the impulsive behaviors we sometimes don't understand as, why in the world did I do that? The other way action tendencies are important is that being aware of them helps us identify actions we may want to physically or even symbolically complete while we're processing trauma. I've had clients stand up, walk, or even run in place during trauma processing. This seems to move the processing along much more quickly. Other times, I've asked clients to physically push their arms away as if they were pushing away a perpetrator and yelling, "Stop!" Sometimes just imagining being able to complete those unfinished actions is also helpful. One urgent action that may need to be addressed when we move to processing trauma is dissociation. Dissociation is the act of mentally and emotionally removing ourselves from our current situation when we experience triggers or reminders from trauma. For most survivors, dissociation was a total gift. It was a way to mentally remove themselves from the overwhelming pain and terror they were experiencing. This likely helped them to survive. Unfortunately, it's the gift that keeps on giving long after it's useful. Dissociation becomes so well learned that many survivors will automatically go away in their minds. Sometimes, survivors aren't even aware that that's happening. Some people really struggle with the idea of dissociation. There seem to be lots of misunderstandings and a certain humiliation that go along with that. Trauma at its core is the past intruding into the present moment. It leads to a sensation that the trauma is still happening. And anything that interferes with staying in the present moment is really some degree of dissociation. Anytime we daydream or lose ourselves in thought, this happens a lot when we're driving, there's a small amount of dissociation that's happening. Like emotions, it's usually helpful to think about dissociation on a scale of intensity. Daydreaming or losing ourselves in books and movies is on one end of that scale. Having parts of us completely leave our bodies as a separate personality without our knowledge or memory is on the other end of that spectrum. My experience in trauma leads me to believe that the side where people completely check out is rare. Most of the time, dissociation looks like angry parts of us taking over. Sometimes it's as if we've stepped outside of our body and are watching ourselves in situations from a point in the room like the ceiling. We're still aware of ourselves in these moments. At the same time, we are experiencing degrees of dissociation connected to our traumatic past. Even though I consider dissociation a gift, and I'm usually thankful for its presence in my surviving clients' lives, it's usually creating lots of problems for them. Losing awareness in situations is awkward. Most clients have learned to cover up their dissociation. If they miss information due to checking out for a short period of time, they can usually bluff their way through so no one else knows that they got lost. However, this can become a huge challenge in school or at work. In order to deal with this issue, survivors have to begin paying more attention to what triggers the urges to go away. This awareness helps them begin learning how to stay present during these trauma reminders. And staying present gives survivors more information they've likely been missing, and this will help them as they work through their experiences. It also helps them to learn that their experiences are no longer going to hurt or trap them. If dissociation has become a big part of your life, we will likely need to learn a few more strategies and skills beyond our core work during this awareness and regulation phase. Where this is the case, there really are excellent books and manuals to help us. Again, extreme dissociation is not the common issue. Varying degrees of checking out is more often the case. This will hopefully be addressed through the skills and strategies we're currently learning. Please be sure to ask as many questions as you need to better understand how dissociation may be impacting you as we move forward. As we work on increasing our awareness of action tendencies, we'll also begin working on skills in the moment to help us stay present and regulated. We'll likely start by using a worksheet called DARTS to help reduce stress in current situations and stay more in charge when we feel overwhelmed. Our brief look at actions requires a critical understanding here. Survivors had actions taken against them. These actions held back or cut off the survivor's ability to act or react in that moment. These incomplete action tendencies are now trapped. In order to heal these incomplete actions, it takes the action of working through trauma to let those tendencies go. Unfortunately, we can't simply think or talk our way through our trauma experiences and expect to have healing. We have to take part and experience our own healing actions with the help of others to release the past and reclaim our present moment. So as we look back on some of our actions and action tendencies, it's important to remember, actions are the things we say and do, as well as the urges we have. In trauma work, urges may be the actions we weren't able to complete during our traumas. These are called action tendencies. Just like releasing our locked up sensations in our body, we also need to release our action tendencies to have the greatest potential for healing. One of the actions people with trauma sometimes learn is dissociation. Dissociation is a gift that keeps on giving. Dissociation happens anytime something interferes with the reality of our present moment. One way to stay in the present moment is to use skills to reduce how much stress we are experiencing. Survivors have to take action in the form of working through trauma to heal the actions that have been taken against them. Okay, so it's time to move on to the last piece of our beat. Let's take a look at our thoughts.